mean, really, it is. It's Memorial Day, so why not talk about vacations as we get into school getting out? We're all itching to go somewhere, aren't you? So let's talk about how to get there. Frugal, on a budget. How far can you go? What can we handle as a family? And ways to save on all parts of it. Because honestly, when we think about vacations, sometimes we forget about all the little things that add into the cost of that vacation. You think about the big things. We got to get there and we have to have somewhere to sleep. But then you forget about the little tiny things that just keep adding up until you've come home and you realize, whoa, we went way over budget. Or even worse, maybe you went on vacation and you didn't even have a budget. So let's not do that. Let's try to hit it all. Let's try to hit all the ways that we can save. If you've got questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. If they're off topic, I am a-okay with that as well. So you leave your questions in the comments between myself or my husband. One of us will see them and make sure that I get an answer to you. And if you've got questions that are on topic, even better, but I'm okay with whatever you want to throw at me. And in terms of content, if you have tips, if you've got a great vacation that you've figured out how to save money on, or a place that you love to go that is super cheap, I'd love for you to share it. I'm all about adding to more vacations in our life. Really, for me, if I could, I would have us go somewhere every month. That doesn't really work when you only have so many days of vacation leave with work. Can't fix that one for you. But I can try to help you save money when you do take those vacation days with work. So hopefully that's where we'll get to tonight. And good timing, Carl, your bride, and you were going on a 3-week road trip in October from Atlanta to Maine. Oh, that sounds magical. Maine is on my list of places for us to hopefully get to. Our goal was last year. That didn't work, but we'll just kind of keep working it in. Sometime in the next couple of years, that's where we want to go to. So we're going to dive through. And Deborah, I am reading your mind. We just got home from the beach. So that's why we didn't have a Q&A last week. So it's always fun to talk vacations, even when you've just done it. It's fresh on my mind, but I know everybody wants to go somewhere too. So to dive in, I want to start first on tips to pay for this. And so for us, and a lot of you have been around, you've joined Q&As for a few years, we've taken some pretty big vacations. My husband and I went to Scotland a couple of years ago, all on points. So first off, that's a big one when we're talking frugal vacations to just not miss. Right out of the gate, what do you have that is available to you that would help pay for things that's not real money? So taking advantage of points, whether that is through a credit card or through a loyalty program. So maybe a spouse travels a ton for work. Be loyal. Being part of a loyalty program does pay off. For us, I used to travel a ton for workshops, and we were loyal through all of that to Marriott. Because of that, we have a ton of Marriott points. If we want to stay in a hotel, we really don't need to pay for it. But we've also achieved a really high status, and that status gets us other perks. Not only can we get the free room, but no matter where we stay, we will always get free breakfast, pretty nice breakfast too, and we will always get late checkout up until 4 p.m., which is insane, but we're not going to complain. So being loyal is helping us be able to take more vacations. We earn points at a higher rate than we would have if we were just kind of Joe Schmo, the lowest level of the loyalty program. You got to start somewhere, but if you do have someone that travels a lot, consider being loyal. Now, I'm not going to say that you'll always get the best rate, because sometimes being loyal does mean that I am going to pass up the super, super cheap hotel room and I'm going to pay maybe $20 more a night. For a great hotel room, it's just not necessarily the cheapest, but it is going to pay off in the end with the points that you're earning and the loyalty rewards that you're earning. Not even talking credit card there. So just to mention that, the more you want to travel, the more being part of those rewards programs does pay off. And just by the way, guys, if you don't travel a ton, you should still be a part of those loyalty programs. So maybe you never travel, but you're going to stay in a hotel. If they have a loyalty program, you should join it. There is no reason to not be earning some points on your stay. And as long as you stay in most of these hotels, usually it's about every 2 to 3 years, as long as you stay one time, your points won't expire. So you're kind of good. You might as well take the points. The same for airfare. any sort of loyalty program that you're a part of. As an example for us, I never rent a car. I've maybe rented a car 5 times in the last 10 years, but we still joined the loyalty program for Hertz eons ago, and I did rent through Hertz on a regular basis whenever I did rent a car. Very, very rare. But that rental, when my husband and I went to Scotland, we had earned enough points over those 5 or 6 rentals to have an entire week of a car handled. Pretty sweet. So we didn't pay for a rental car for a week in Scotland because we had randomly rented a car, 5 times in the last 10 years. So they do pay off, even if you don't think you're gonna earn a ton of points or that it's not really gonna be worthwhile. Just get the points. There's no reason to say no to those. Just earn them. Whatever that program is, even if you're not loyal, earn them here and here and here and here. Eventually, you can redeem them for something. It also helps out that we've seen some of these companies get bought. So some of you may have had points from Starwood and other hotel chains, and then Marriott bought them. Well, now your points are good at lots of other places, but your points also merged with any points that you may have already earned in that chain too. So moral of the story, earn the points. Don't ever say no to the rewards program, please. You will just... you'll be sad in the end when you think about what you could have earned, but you always said no to joining the rewards program. So don't do that. Always earn them. So as we dive in, we've got our points. Let's talk credit cards super fast. They are a way to get you somewhere. So, however, always have that little warning here. You should never get a credit card if you cannot remember to pay it off every month. But having that credit card and earning the rewards points on top of whatever you're already earning is a huge way to earn some free flights and hotel stays. So a couple examples that are out there, Chase, for example. Chase cards are all part of kind of the same rewards pot that they have running, and that is Chase Ultimate Rewards. I earn points, and then I can redeem those points towards all sorts of things, from American Airlines to Marriott to Hyatt. They kind of have their fingers in everybody's rewards program, and you can redeem your points across the board however you want. Pretty sweet. There are other cards that have something similar. Chase is the one that we have, so it's one that I'm more familiar with. Now, when it comes to credit cards, I would encourage you to look at the one that gives you a reward that you're going to turn around and use. So I give this as an example when we talk credit cards on a regular basis, but my in-laws, my father-in-law loves LL Bean, so they have a Bean card. That's great. It works for them. We love to travel. So we have the Chase Ultimate Rewards, and we have a Marriott card, because when I use that card, I earn more Marriott points. It's all about how you're going to redeem those points, and for us, travel is the way that we tend to do that. So we can get free airline tickets through those Chase Unlimited Rewards. We can get free hotel stays with that Marriott card. So, consider it if you're going to pay them off. If you're not, this is pointless. You're not saving anything when you're paying interest and fees. So don't do that. But for those of us who can handle paying it off at the end of the month, this is a huge way to get great vacations. And just a side note on that, you can pay a lot of things on a credit card. And most of you guys know we don't use debit cards. We just use a credit card. And so at the end of the month, we pay that off. But that means that I've earned points on my gas and my groceries and anything else that I can stick on that credit card that needs to be paid. And then at the end of the month, paying it off. But I'm slowly earning more and more miles to go on another free trip. So you got to hit that first, because to me, that's a huge way to have frugal vacations when you don't have to pay anything for them. So just before we get into any other tips, we've hit the big ones in my boat. And I see some other folks mentioning their travels too. And my husband's chiming in that we want to go to Mallorca. I think I'm saying that right. It's a TV show, so it's a little island off the coast of Spain for anyone that is wondering and what he's commenting on, but it's also a TV show. My mother gave us BritBox for Christmas, and so we stream a lot of British mysteries and whatnot, and it's a fun one. You can look it up if you need something new to watch. Okay, so let's dive into where to stay. And I see Evangeline's asking, what do I think of timeshares? Honestly, they scare me, and I would tend to say no on that. Now I know some folks who love them. And if that works for you and you're going to regularly use them, great. The thing with timeshares is really that you've got to look into the underlying fees. They do not usually tell you. So you've got maintenance fees, you have owner fees. They're all going to be tacked on every single year. And you need to be okay with those. You also need to be okay with how you can use these. Are you stuck in one particular spot, or are you able to use them like a bucket of points and you go anywhere that you want? So it depends on who you're buying through. But what I would encourage you to at least ponder with timeshares is that there is an entire market that makes some good money helping people get out of their timeshares. And the fact that that exists should at least make you kind of, take a break and ponder before you just jump in. And they totally make their money off of people jumping in. That's why they give you the free vacations and make you sit through this, 90-minute presentation. And you go in thinking, I will say no, I will say no. But they know that people don't. So just take your time. Don't feel rushed to make that decision, and make sure you're looking at every single tiny thing you may not know. Google it. Try to figure out everything you can about that company before you sign on the dotted line. There is no this deal ends at midnight moment for a timeshare. Just remember that no matter what they tell you, you can take as much time as you want to ponder it. This is like buying a house, but you don't own anything. In the end, that's the hard part. There's really no equity here. You're just randomly purchasing something that has no value. And that's hard. Okay, so let's talk about where to stay that's not a timeshare. In terms of getting a cheaper vacation, the biggest tips that I can give you are, in all honesty, the first one is that I want you to be flexible with your dates. So I know it's Memorial Day weekend, and I get that tomorrow, today is a holiday. You didn't have to go to work. You don't have to use a vacation day if you travel on a weekend. But choosing to travel on a weekend that is a holiday weekend, you're talking about upwards of 40% more in cost. So for example, I just told you we got back from the beach. I try hard to get us a beach house the week before Memorial Day. The reason, the same beach house, $2,000 more this week than it was last week. That's huge. It's the same beach house. And the weather was actually better last week. So it's not about, we went one more warm week towards the beach. Really, the cost there is because it is a holiday weekend, because this is the moment where schools normally start to let out. This year's a little different, but they know that they can charge more, and so they do. So you learning where that peak season ends, going that last week before it, ideal. I mean, you've just saved for us a massive chunk of money. So finding out when those dates are. Another one, I get if your kids are in public school, this is hard. You can't really play with those dates. You only get so much time, but public school folks, sometimes we forget that we do have the ability, or you have the ability, I'm not a public school folk, but you do have the ability to actually take your kids out of school, and you can get absences excused. So if you're looking at taking a great vacation, just tell the school and see, how can I get these absences excused? What could we do to where they're not going to count against my child? We're going to go to Hawaii. We're going to do something huge. A lot of times the school does view that. If you sell, it's all about how you sell it. This is a cultural experience. We're helping our kids to see the world, and this is when we're able to do it. A lot of times your school will say yes, but we don't tend to look at it that way. We tend to look at it as we can only travel during these dates when school is off. Don't do that. Don't put yourself in that just summer bucket, because summer costs a lot of money. Summer is peak travel everywhere. Try to get off of that. Now, ideally for your kids, the best time that you could do this would be potentially during the month of September. School has just started back. They're not heavy into anything. And it's an ideal time to go ahead and pull them out, and they miss a week of school, but they didn't miss like final exams. They didn't miss anything big, and you're now officially off peak. So you've still got warm weather. You're still taking a great time to travel. It's September. They're not going to miss as much. So I'm not telling you your school's going to automatically write that off, but it never hurts to ask. And honestly, it's easier if you've already booked it to be like, there's nothing we can do. It's booked. And they will usually, if you follow what they're asking, will make those excused absences. Now, sometimes they'll ask your kids to write a paper, or, it depends on what grade your kids are in too, but it is an option. So do not think that you're stuck in this little tiny bucket of these specific summer months. If your school is really hard to deal with, you've tried this before and you know that it's not going to work, then start to look for whatever other breaks they have. So our kids have a winter break in February. It's not when most schools take their break, but that gives us the opportunity to maybe travel again off peak and be able to get a vacation in before all those prices go up. So another great example for us is we actually went on a cruise last February, a year ago, right before the world locked down. We basically got back on land 2 weeks before no more cruises went out. So we really got that one in under the wire. But it was off peak. Kids sailed free. This is huge when you have a 5-member family. And we took the tiniest room with the little window. You don't need a magical room. It's all about getting there. So that's my other tip. We can talk dates and being flexible on dates, but I encourage you to be flexible as to where you sleep. And this is across the board. This isn't just a cruise ship, but this is also that beach house. It's where you're going to go. If you go to Washington, D.C., the further I'm willing to go from the middle of everything, the cheaper it's going to get. If you want a hotel room in the middle of Times Square, great, but I can't help you save money on it. You've just chosen to be in the peak epicenter of fun. It's going to cost you. But if you were willing to go 5 or 6 blocks from Times Square or DC, you're willing to go a couple subway stations from the capital, you are going to have a much cheaper place to stay than if I stayed 2 blocks from the capital. So whenever we get to where we're willing to walk, we're willing to put a little effort into it, it is going to be cheaper. The same at the beach. You want a beachfront house? Go for it. But you're talking, and even in South Carolina, 10 grand for a week to stay on a beachfront house, or you can stay 2 blocks back for 2 grand. That's massive. And if we think about that in terms of, hey, I want to take more vacations, if I could take a vacation on a budget, let's say $2,500 total budget for the whole week, well, that means I could take 4 vacations for the same price that you could stay in a beachfront house. I'd pick the 4 vacations. So just so you kind of see the difference when it comes to where can I stay. Yes, I could spend all of my budget and have an amazing place to stay, but I could also save a chunk of my budget and have a bigger trip, have a longer trip, take more trips. You get the point. So that, same for us on that cruise ship. Could we have gotten a balcony room? Well, probably not, but we were trying to go as cheap as we could, but having the little porthole window, we still had a window, we could still look out. You can get an inside room, even cheaper. But for us, that meant that we could all go on this cruise and be way under the budget that we had set, and we're there. We're still experiencing the stops. We're still getting to go to Jamaica and still getting to go to all the various ports. We just don't necessarily have a balcony. But that's okay. There are other places on the ship that you can go and look over the side if you need to. It doesn't have to be in your bedroom, and you've saved a ton of money to do that. So, think small, think further out, whatever it might be. That is, your lodging is probably your first, if not second, largest expense. Sometimes it's getting there if we're looking at flying, but sometimes it is our largest expense. So if we can save on that lodging, then we've already knocked a chunk off of the budget as we travel. So just to consider. Another one, Carl's talking about, a road trip up to Maine, is to consider the towns that you stay in. So if I'm looking at, little stops along the way, we need a few hotels to stop in, well, I could choose a big city, but if I actually choose a small city, it's going to be much, much cheaper. So if you aren't necessarily caring where you stop, then get creative and find some other places to see, a little off the beaten path. Stay in some of those smaller cities because it is a lot cheaper. So to even go to an example for us, back to our Scotland trip a couple of years ago, we did use Marriott points when we were able to, but a lot of these tiny little cities in Scotland don't even have hotel rooms, so some of them we did stay in bed and breakfast. Well, I could stay in a bed and breakfast in a big city, but the price for a bed and breakfast to just go, another 30 minutes down the road and stay in a tiny little city, half price. So I don't care where I sleep. What's one city to another when you've never even been in the country? It's not a big deal. They're still great bed and breakfasts, and you've just saved 50% by driving another 30 minutes to another little tiny town and getting to experience tiny little town life, which was kind of fun for us. So I would encourage you to do that no matter where you are. That one applies US or international, but that tiny little town, always cheaper than the big city. So if we're really not focused on that particular destination, it's just a stop along the road, then get creative as to where you sleep and try out some of those tiny little towns. It's also kind of a fun way to support small town America, but you'll get to save a chunk on your overall expenses for that. And I want to make sure I'm not missing any questions too. So if you guys do have any comments or questions, please put them in on the various comments below, and I will see them. I'm trying. My husband will also. And Deborah's chiming in as someone trying to get out of her timeshare. Don't do it. So maybe you need to send Deborah. You guys need to chat, Deborah, both on the timeshares. But okay. So one other tip on lodging before we move on. I would always recommend that you look at getting an Airbnb, vacation rental by owner, some kind of lodging that has a kitchen over choosing 100% hotels. Now, obviously, it is going to depend on where you are, whether or not you're staying put or whether or not you're moving every day. So again, our trip to Scotland, that was not an option. We weren't going to stop and cook meals. We moved every day. But if you're looking at, going to the beach for a week or going to Washington, D.C. for a few days, stay put and get somewhere that has a small kitchen. It could even be a little tiny efficiency, because the reason there, you're going to probably pay the same amount, same exact rate per night, sometimes even cheaper to be in a vacation rental by owner versus a hotel, depending on the city. But the fact that I can cook my meals is saving me a ton of money. And this is where your vacation starts to add up without you thinking about it. Because so often we go to we go to a restaurant and we eat out and you sign your name at the bottom of the bill, but you don't really think about how much lunch and dinner, how they start to add up, because you view them as individual purchases. And you're like, okay, we did pretty good on this dinner. But you're not thinking about all of those meals together. So when we can eat in and make our meals in a kitchen, you're automatically saving money. I can guarantee you that you can cook that meal cheaper than you can eat it in a restaurant. I mean, even if you had filet mignon, you can cook it cheaper than you can eat it in a restaurant. And maybe you don't want to cook. That's okay. Consider prepping ahead of time. If we're looking at driving to where we're going, obviously this doesn't work if you're flying, but if you're looking at driving to where you're going, you could easily make some casseroles, freeze them, and bring them in a cooler. I don't have to cook every meal while I'm gone. I could pre-prep some meals. Maybe I don't cook the whole thing, but I've already pre-cooked the meat. For example, our go-to the first night of beach week is always tacos. Well, you can come with the hamburger pre-cooked and seasoned. All I gotta do to put tacos together is chop up some lettuce and chop up some tomatoes. We're done. Tacos are ready. I just needed to warm up the meat. So it's not like I'm spending 20, 30 minutes in the kitchen to get dinner on the table. And I say this, but my mother-in-law does some of this too, does most of our cooking. But you get the idea. Doing a little bit of work before you go on vacation, you're still going to have some time off and not always be in the kitchen. But I would encourage, in terms of meals, that you think ahead of time. So this was I just grabbed a little notebook before we went out of town last week, and I started planning out everything, even down to lunches. And if you guys have ever listened in on a meal planning Q&A, I don't plan lunches normally. Lunches are usually leftovers. But when it comes to a vacation week, I want to make sure that I really don't ever have to go to the grocery store. Grocery stores in vacation areas are really expensive. If you haven't learned that yet, just take a note of the prices at home and the prices there on a few key items, and you'll start to realize it could be upwards of $1 on the same item in terms of the different prices. So always expensive in vacation areas. Much better to bring whatever groceries that you can. So for me, that's exactly what I was doing. I was mapping out, this was just my lunches, and mapping out what do I need for each of these things. And then kind of on the other page, I ripped it out, but made a list of, okay, what do I not have? What do I need to go ahead and make sure that I've got so that we could eat these things? These were just various lunch ideas. And usually what I did was kind of gave my kids the option. It's like a sandwich bar. Make your own sandwiches. I don't care what you make, but these are your options. And you can alternate them up. So some days for lunch were leftovers, but I also had everything to make sandwiches or leftover pizza. Just for easy meals for them so that we did not have to eat out at all. That is the goal. Because if we can remove that from the budget, then that's even more money that we've saved. And in my book, usually for us, when it comes to vacation time, any money that we can save it's kind of still in like the vacation bucket in our budget. So it's really saving us more money to take another trip, to go somewhere else, or more money to be able to do something super fun on that vacation. So maybe what you're looking for is, how do I afford those attractions, the tickets into somewhere or the things that you want to do. So sometimes being able to afford them is because you've saved in other areas, but there are ways to save on those tickets too. I'm all about trying to find a deal. So some options there, if that is where you are, you're trying to just afford the attractions that you want to head to. A few tips. First is to look into something called City Pass. If we're looking into the big cities, New York, Chicago, Boston, I think there's even one for Atlanta. So City Pass, there's a couple other companies that do the same thing. Pogo Pass is another one, but City Pass is the big one. This is where usually you can buy a booklet that will give you admission to 4 or 5 things. You'll get to pick some of them, and you will save money across the board. Now, you only want to choose these options if you have the time to go to all of those attractions. But one thing to consider with most of them is that once you buy it, it's good for a year. So if it's somewhere that you're going to go back, then you could potentially do 1 or 2 things now and 1 or 2 things on another trip. So just an option is to look into that. Don't forget about Groupon. Groupon does still run attraction discounts in various cities. So type in, Charleston, South Carolina, and see what it pulls up. Get discounts on dolphin boat cruises or whatever it is that you're looking for. Never hurts to check and see if there's something that's there. Another option, if you're going through a rental company, let's say you did do a vacation rental and it's through a management company, is see if they have some sort of discount card. So this actually came in handy for us this past week. We were at Edisto Island, which is a tiny little island off of South Carolina, much cheaper than any other island off of South Carolina, by the way. And near Edisto is a place called the Serpentarium. This is a I love my children moment because I do not love snakes, but that is what it is. And they loved it. They had a blast. But for us, we were able to get 15% off all the admission because they have a deal with the vacation rental company that we had booked through. So never hurts to check if your vacation rental company has some sort of discount book. Now, our really big beaches, I think of Myrtle Beach, which most local South Carolinians, we don't really head there, but I know folks from outside of South Carolina love it. But our big beaches, you'll tend to find those discount books in the racks as you go. They've got coupons in them. It never hurts. If you're in a hotel, never hurts to ask your hotel either. Do you have any discount tickets? Do you have any discounts that you offer to local attractions? A number of hotels have worked out discounts that they offer. They even offer discounts to restaurants, guys. Never hurts to ask your hotel or your management company what they offer. Doesn't mean you have to use them, but you've at least made sure that you took advantage of whatever was out there. The same for AAA. We don't see that many discounts through AAA these days, but if you've got it, it doesn't hurt to throw that out there and see what you can get to. Good Sam's Club for my fellow campers. They do still offer some discounts too to attractions, and AARP. All of those, just throw them all out. Here's everything I'm a part of, that kind of thing, and see what you can get. One other thing you may not realize is your zoo membership. So zoos do have affiliations with other zoos. And so if you have a membership to a local zoo or somewhere that you've been in the past, that can actually get you a discount on tickets to another location. Never hurts to ask. So an example for us, we have the Columbia Zoo here in our area. I don't currently have a membership to it, but in the past we have. And then heading up to Chattanooga, which has an amazing aquarium, they will give you a discount because you have a current membership at a different zoo that is part of their kind of, whatever, American Society of Zoos. I'm making that up, but that's basically what it is, and that's why they're giving you the discount. Never hurts to see what is out there that is going to give you a discount as you're trying to get into those attractions. Okay, and so what is the best credit card to start your credit? That's a big question. If you have 0 credit at all, it may be that you actually look at trying to get a secured credit card. You may not be able to get any of the credit cards that have really great rewards behind them. So if you have 0 credit or you have bad credit, you want to look at getting a secured credit card. They're still through Visa. They still are going to show up on your credit report. They're still going to show that you made the payments, but they're going to help build your credit score. And they're really great for kids and for young adults that are trying to get started with good credit. So look into those if that needs to be where you are. You can always apply to credit cards. What I would recommend is just Googling a credit card for average credit score. So if you technically have 0 credit, in a sense, that's kind of average because you don't have bad credit, right? You got to look at it like the glass is half full here. But applying for that average credit score and seeing if you can get approved, just keep in mind the more cards that you apply for, the more it actually will hurt your credit. So if you do get denied, don't keep trying. Go ahead and go for the secured card, which means that you've put money behind it. So if I open a secured credit card, I basically make a deposit of $200 and that's my balance. So I can never spend more than I have on hand, but it's a safe way to build your credit as you go through. And Carl's chiming in and saying that DC is a great vacation and their subway system is really good. I 100% agree, Carl. That was a vacation that we did, goodness, probably 6 years ago with all of our kids. We had a blast. And I've done it before that, even on my own as a kid. My mom took me up there when I was preteen. Still remember all of those memories. Highly, highly recommend a trip to DC for anybody and definitely any family. And Wendy's chiming in and saying, my bank has discounts to different attractions, and one year she got a discount to the Tweetsie Railroad. So yeah, this is another example of just what's out there. Who's offering some discounts, and whenever you find out about them, take advantage of it. And one other thing to mention on the DC, anyone that's pondering it, most DC museums are completely free. So when you do get to DC, you're not going to have to pay for a lot if you are smart about it anyway. Some museums are not. So if you want to go to the Museum of, I think, what is it, like Spy Museum, that one's not free. But all of those Smithsonians have a blast at them and pay nothing to go to and see so many cool things. Okay, so one thing to mention in all of these attractions too is that I would still urge you to have a budget and to find things that are free. So a fun one here, and we're going to stick a link in it. I pulled it from my husband already, but is to head to a Pinterest board. It's really going to give you links to all of these posts that we've done on Southern Savers, but through the years, we have done a number of posts of 25 free things to do in over 45 different cities. And I try really hard to keep them up to date. Whenever we travel, we try to do a lot of those free things on those lists. My husband and I had a blast doing them in New York a few years back. But if you're ever traveling to one of those cities, look them up. Save this little Pinterest board. It's basically just direct links to all those posts. If you're heading to DC, New York, Chicago, we have a list. So 25 free things to do in all those cities. I'm pretty sure that could keep you pretty busy if you were just there for a few days. So it's not like I have to pay for everything that I want to do. There really are some great things that you can experience for no cost whatsoever. So get creative. If you're going to a city that I haven't made a list for, make it for me. How about that? Send me all the things that you did. I would love to put it together. Google it. Look for it on Pinterest and other places too. Be a Pinterest vacationer if that's what you want to do, kind of creating the free things that are out there, because there are a lot of free things that you can do. My husband chiming in on the Smithsonian museums, that's just DC. But there are so many other things in other cities that are going to keep you quite busy without having to spend any money doing those attractions and have a blast doing them. One other thing to throw out there too on attractions is that sometimes it really does pay to get a membership. So this is our South Carolina state passport, but even to the zoo, it depends on your family. For us, being a family of 7, a lot of times we end up with a membership because it's actually cheaper than getting 7 individual tickets somewhere. But depending on what you want to do, this is our park passport for this year, and we take full advantage of this. Anytime we can go to a state park, this makes it free. So, taking advantage of things that are near you and finding a way to save on them, by far, this is a way to do it. Now, I'm not going to tell you how I got this one because I got it on a deal, and I want to be able to do it this year, and I don't want to have to fight all of you, but there are deals even for state park passes, so, get creative. Well, I guess I will give you in a little tip here. So check out your state park system. South Carolina regularly runs deals around Black Friday. That's all I'm going to say. And one of those is deals on gift cards. So you can get a $50 gift card, and it's basically a $60 value. They add an extra $10 to it. So look into gift cards, look into park passes. Your state park probably runs some promotions too, but Black Friday in particular is a huge time to save no matter where you're going. Colonial Williamsburg, Busch Gardens, so many places run promotions on Black Friday weekend. So I know we're pretty far from that right now, but just so you can pencil that in, because you're thinking, TVs and Christmas presents, but I want you to think about next year's vacations. Where are we going next year? We did this when we went to DC about 6 years ago. We also did Colonial Williamsburg. And we got the Black Friday deal for Colonial Williamsburg because we were headed over Christmas break to both of these places. So that Black Friday deal was buy one, get one admission. Take advantage of the promotions that they run because they're good for the whole next year. I don't have to use them the week after Black Friday. I just need to know when to look for a deal. And Black Friday is huge for a lot of vacations. It's also huge for cruises, so you can really start to plan for next year's vacations in November of this year. So big circle on your calendar for vacation planning for Black Friday. Don't forget about it because, it's kind of fun. So another one in terms of travel, and I want to hit actually getting there. So our airlines, all about a road trip. That's definitely a huge way to save. But if we're looking at flying, there are 3 sites that I would recommend to you to be able to get discounted tickets. So those 3 sites, Google Flights is one of them. So it's flights.google.com. And personally, I love searching this. It is way, way easier than searching individual airline companies because I'm searching across all of them at the same time. And most of the time, you will not book your ticket through Google. It'll actually tell you, okay, here's your flight. Now go book this through American Airlines. So it's not some of them you will book through Google, but it's not necessarily like Google's way of making money on this. What it is that the back-end system that airlines use to book flights, Google built it. Yeah. So Google's basically giving you access to all of it to be able to do that. But what I love about this is that you can actually put in multiple cities. So we live in Columbia, so I can put in Columbia, but I could also put in Charlotte. I could put in any cities that I want. I should put in a comma here. Here we go. We'll do it one at a time. We'll hit the plus sign. So do Columbia. Come on, buddy. You can tell I haven't flown here recently. Columbia, South Carolina. Oh, fine. We'll go CAE again. And then we can come in and hit the plus sign. Where else is what it's asking me if you can't see that. And we're going to say Charlotte. And then it's saying, now it gets the point. Now it knows that I want to search a few different cities. Let's go Augusta. So Augusta, Georgia is nearby. They actually do have a little tiny regional airport that actually has some great tickets. And let's go Charleston. These are all places that for us are within a couple hours. And I would totally be willing to drive for a cheaper ticket. Now, let's think of somewhere fun. You know what? London comes up. Let's just see what we get. London, and I'm going to hit search. Now, I don't really plan to go to London tomorrow, or I guess that's a week from tomorrow, but it's giving me all my options. But from here, you can actually get creative. And so we can click on the calendar, and it will pop up. And if you give it a second, you'll see that underneath the dates is another digit there. So it's actually giving you the prices for that date. So just give it a minute. And all of a sudden, I can see like, whoa, if I'm willing to travel on July 21st, the price drops almost $300. And if we go further out and we get into when school starts, so let's go past August into September and October, these prices are going to significantly drop. So it's still calculating them into September. It's taking it a minute, and it's starting to pop them in. There we go. September 22nd, the ticket goes all the way down to $794. Compare that to August 1st over here, which is $1,400. You can start to see how this gets fun. I can play with my dates. I can play with my cities. So let's just go ahead and click on that 22nd, and there we go. It's giving me my cheapest option to come home is the 26th. So I'm going to click on this just to show you, and we're going to click done, and it's going to populate them from whatever city it decided was the cheapest option. So I gave it 4 options on cities, and I'm going to find out, you know what? It turns out that cheapest price is from Charleston. It's not from Charlotte. So you're thinking, if I go from the biggest airport, that's not always the case. So I do love it. It's a lot of fun to be able to play with different airports, and Google Flights lets you do that. So again, I've got 4 different airports in here at the top. You could also put in different places that you're willing to go to and let it spit out. Maybe I don't care about London. Maybe I'm willing to go, to any of these. Gatwick. I'm willing to go to a tiny little city outside of London to see if that gives you you can go and play with all of it. So another site that also lets you play is Kayak Explore. So this is kayak.com/explore. And this one is fun because I can say, you know what? I live in Charlotte. That's what's right here behind my head. I don't care where I go, and I don't care when. And it's going to automatically give you the cheapest prices that it can find. So some of those dates, they could be this month. Some of them could be next month. You can also be more specific. Maybe I don't care when. I'm going to give it a month. So you know what? I'd like to go somewhere in October. I don't care when. And you can even give it a duration. So let's say we want to go on a 7-day trip somewhere in October. And so it's done that now, and it's starting to file it down. I've told it I want to leave from Charlotte. I don't care where I want to go. And now I can start to see where my options are. So this is a fun one. If you're, I just want to go somewhere and I don't care where. You can put in a where too if you want to get, you can even put in continents, but you can put in a city too if you want. It's just kind of fun to be able to play with anything. Don't care where, just show me what my options are. One last option, and this is really kind of working the system, is skip lagged. Skip lagged, if you are cool with traveling light, you're not going to check a bag, you already weren't planning on checking a bag, then this is a fun way to book a ticket. Because the way that skip lagged is working is it's looking for a ticket that is cheaper than your current ticket because it's giving you a layover and you're not going to get back on the plane. Kind of crazy, I know, but it does make for a cheaper ticket. So instead of looking for a ticket, for example, from Charlotte to Chicago, I may be looking at a ticket from Charlotte to Des Moines, Iowa, and it happens to have a layover in in Chicago. So I'm going to exit the plane at that point and exit the airport. I didn't check a bag, so it's not going to matter. I'm also only booking a one-way ticket. So I would book a different ticket to come home because if you don't finish a ticket, they'll cancel the other side of that. But to give you some ideas, I could do Charlotte to Las Vegas for $92. I could do Charlotte to Atlanta for $89. That's not too magical. Charlotte to Chicago for $74. And that is because you're not necessarily finishing the flight. So it's kind of a fun way to just look, just to see what's out there. If I don't finish the leg, I just take that one little bit and then I exit. How much cheaper is that for me if I booked it into a smaller city? So just some ideas to book airline tickets and to save some money. Now, obviously, if you're going to pay with points, you're going to have to do that directly through the airline. You're not going to be able to play around with it. Your points are pretty much going to be set across the board. But even if you are paying with points, don't forget about the peak times there. Those are going to cost you way more points than traveling on weekdays versus weekends, traveling during off-peak times, not taking the nonstop. The nonstop typically does have a higher value of points than the one that maybe takes a couple extra little stops. So, just some options for you. And one inside tip on redeeming points. I encourage you to look up this one so you can learn how to work it better. Is you want to kind of Google the words an open gator trip. And this seems a little crazy, but People don't realize that as long as I travel inside a region, that some things can actually count as the same trip. And I can have a layover that's upwards of 36 hours in an area, and it still counts as the same ticket. And so now you're actually able to see more of the world. Europe is its own area, by the way. More of the world without using more points. It's all going to count towards the same ticket. So Google that one, and there's people that have totally worked this system to travel, upwards of 6 different cities on the same amount of points using open gator trips. So that's kind of the key word for it. You can Google it and figure out more about it because it's a lot more than I can cover in a little Q&A, but it is a really fun way to max out your points and get some, just some fun experiences, see other cities. So lots there on airline travel and ways to kind of, maybe get a little further than you wanted to. And Carrie says, why does it matter on the absences to get it excused? So when it comes to the excused absences, Carrie, yes, you get 10, but some of them will actually count it as it was not an absence. So that's what you're going for, to get it as an approved trip. And that is where a lot of times they're going to ask you to do some sort of report or write some sort of paper. So we're basically telling them we want to count this as school days. In all honesty, for folks that are public schooled, this is the crummy part of public schooling, because in homeschooling land, we go to a serpentarium, that's a school day. That's a field trip. And it's the same thing as your kids taking a field trip with their whole class. You're just organizing the field trip. And so you're just trying to get that to be an authorized field trip day. It's not going to count as an excuse. So that's the reason for going directly to the school, getting the trip approved. And they do this. I promise you they do. So anyone that has adopted internationally, some countries actually require the entire family to be present for that international adoption. But sometimes that's upwards of 4 to 6 weeks that you're stuck in that country. So schools are kind of used to this. And basically, as a parent in that public school situation, you're saying, you know what, I'm going to have to homeschool my kids for this period of time. We are going to come back. But you're going to do that through the school. They're going to give you the work that you need to do. They're going to approve the trip. And your kid's not going to end up missing 4 to 6 weeks of school and then thereby not finishing that year. So they are used to this. It's just you making sure you've gone through this system. So hopefully that makes sense a little bit more. It's not counting as an absence at all. They would basically still come home and still have their 10, even though you went on the trip and took those days off. Okay. So trying to make sure I don't miss anybody's questions. You guys I love all the tips that y'all are sharing and places that you've gone to too. It's so fun. Y'all are just making me want to, let's just go somewhere else this week too. Yes, and Barbara, you're right. So you need to be careful buying a ticket with an unused portion. And that is why, Barbara, that with skip lagged, you're only going to buy a one-way ticket. So to pull this back up, you would never want to buy a round trip ticket, because if I don't finish that portion, then I am not going to be able to come home. They're going to cancel the rest of your ticket. And that's kind of a bummer. You don't want to be stuck in that city. But with skip lagged, they've been doing this for ages, and you probably, the next ticket home potentially isn't even on the same airline. They're not going to put those two tickets together. They're just going to kind of realize that you didn't finish the leg, but they're not really going to be worrying about it when it's two separate reservations at that sense. I would just never want to book them in the same reservation. So yes, very good point. Okay. So to move through, I had a long list tonight. We're hopefully going to get through all of it. A big one here. So in terms of affording all of it, let's say you're going to road trip it, whatever you decide to do, I highly recommend being a gift card traveler. So seriously, this is what my purse looks like normally, is like I have a gift card for everywhere. But the fact that we can get discounted gift cards, we can get fuel points with gift cards, there's so many ways to get a deal on a gift card. That automatically makes your trip cheaper, but it also automatically makes your trip have a budget because you have gift cards set aside. So for us going down to the beach, we had 3 gas station gift cards that I had purchased from previous Publix gift card days and tucked away. So as we're looking for gas stations, my husband knows, hey, we've got 2 Shells and a BP, so make it work. So looking for those gas card deals, whether that's grocery store. I know Kroger right now is running 4 times the fuel points on any gift cards. Publix is running the gas station gift card coming up in the next Publix ad. So anytime we see those, taking advantage of them when we see them for anything. So that can also be restaurants, Sam's, Costco, regularly 25% off gift cards. Sam's actually wins here over Costco. Costco has some, but Sam's has a ton. And they have way more online than they have in store. So if you are looking for a gift card deal, I would encourage you to just go to sams.com. Some of them will come to you in your email, but some they'll just mail to you and there's no fee. They ship for free. So you're going to be able to get a $50 gift card for like $37.50. That's a 25% savings off of your gift card. So take advantage of it whenever they run it, and you've saved an easy 25%. So think of restaurants that you're willing to go to. Yes, they're going to be national chains, but if you're headed to a major city, odds are you're going to find that national chain. Maybe I'm not going to do that for every meal that we eat out, if you want to eat local, but it could be a great way to save on your way to the place. We've got to eat dinner. We have to stop for lunch. Getting gift cards to some of the fast food restaurants if that's what you want to do, gift cards to gas stations, and taking full advantage of any way that we can save on them. It's a pretty big way to save on your vacation overall. Obviously we can't make the gas free, but if I can save an easy, $10 off of every $50 gift card, that's a chunk. Just taking advantage of the Publix gift cards that they're running, or Kroger giving you fuel points and then having extra savings off of gas at the Kroger. So across the board, a gift card for everything if you can. This is also how we afford date night. So if you don't end up using them on your vacation, you can use them when you get back and just have a prepaid date night for yourself. But it is a great way. And Missy's chiming in and saying most educational trips do count as an absence. However, it's coded as such that it counts as an excused absence. Same as a mom and dad note. And you're right. So when I guess, and I don't want to cause confusion, but if you do reach out to your school and you tell them exactly what this is, I fully remember doing this. We've also had friends that have done this for adoptions. They do end up, it does not count against you in the sense of you will not finish the year. So however that looks in their numbers, the big number in the end is that your kids are not going to be not hitting the days that they should be hitting. So in our book, that always counted as a field trip day. It didn't go down even as an excused absence on the report card. It just, you had work to turn in when you got home. So as long as you're cool with doing the work, then that is a way that you can make it work. And if it's not going to work for your school, you're going to know pretty quickly, but it is something to at least look into. Oh, and Carl, thanks for chiming in on this. I always forget this one too. So for folks that are over the age of 62, getting that National Park Pass, which is a lifetime membership to national parks. Right now it's $80. It used to be $10, which is crazy that they jumped it so high. But it covers up to 4 people that are in the group or the car. One other thing to remember, for anyone that has served, it's Memorial Day. So anyone that is a veteran or is active or retired military, that is actually free, and that became free under the last administration. So they know it came out late last year and they were working on the process, but all you need to do is show your military ID and you can get a completely free pass to all the national parks as well. So senior, it's a great deal for a lifetime membership, even at the $80, but any active or retired military or family can get completely free. So don't miss that one either. Great discount to be able to get in. Okay. Oh, and Carrie, new to public school world. So what I would do, Carrie, if you are brand new going in, is just ask your school, hey, if we were to take a long vacation, what is the steps to making that vacation approved? And what are the steps to where they would not count against my son in terms of his absences? And they'll walk you through that process because I can guarantee you they have done it. And the adoptions, hands down, is the easiest example because they have to go for so long to India. Our friends were in the Ukraine. The entire family was required for 6 weeks. That's crazy long, but you can definitely do that. Okay. And Jessica, I did not talk about car rentals. So the best way to save on car rentals If you're specifically needing one, you don't have any points to pay for one, Jessica, I would encourage you to look a few different places. So one is looking at what kind of discounts may already be available to you based on who your car insurance is through and other things. Kind of like Wendy was mentioning, her bank offers discounts to attractions, but you'll find that there are a lot of discounts already offered through what you're in. For example, this one you may not even think about, but because we are Marriott loyalty members, Marriott actually offers a discount to Hertz rental, and that's kind of how we ended up in Hertz in the first place for us. So even looking for those connections that you may not even realize that you have. The second option that I would recommend is Priceline or Hotwire. So both of them do offer car rentals. You do not always know the company that you're going to work through, but it does give you ratings. And those are usually the places that you can get the lowest prices possible on those car rentals. So looking at either of those. And then a big one for car rentals, always check your car insurance, because most people, can't say all, but most people's car insurance, it fully covers a rental car. So when you do rent a car, most folks, again, check your car insurance before you do this, but most folks can waive any additional insurances. Your personal car insurance while you're driving that rental car is going to be covered on whatever happens on that rental. So that's another tiny little way to save, but it is something to just make sure that you're aware of. Another one here too, and this is the case for a lot of travel guys since we're talking travel, is people talk about travel insurance. Before you dive in and you purchase travel insurance, look at your credit cards that you have, because that's actually a perk on a number of our main credit cards. And it's one of those that comes in a little booklet and you throw that little booklet away and you don't ever think about it. But most of our credit cards, if you book a vacation on that credit card, they offer travel insurance. And they offer travel insurance sometimes upwards of $50,000, which you're probably not taking a trip that big. So look at the benefits of your credit cards. You can pull up your credit card account and you'll find a link to benefits and be able to see what they offer. The same with extended warranties. So today's Memorial Day. And you should, if you need an appliance, get it before Tuesday. Most of our Memorial Day ads and Lowe's and Home Depot are going to run through tomorrow night. Some may be extended. But in case you didn't know, look at your credit cards. So we have a credit card, and we did. I finally got my dishwasher, guys. Kind of excited. It's been a couple of years that I feel like we've been battling this dishwasher, but we finally grabbed one with Memorial Day sales. But putting it on the credit card that I put it on today not only gets me points for a future trip, but that credit card has a benefit of extended warranties of up to 5 years on purchases over a certain amount. I don't need to pay the extended warranty or for an extended warranty at Home Depot or Lowe's. The credit card has you covered. So just, look into your benefits before you dive in and you pay for those extensions or that special travel insurance. I'm not saying your credit card is going to cover it. It's just worth looking into because it is a benefit for a number of cards that are out there. And then you're not having to pay an extra little bit, nor are you having to stress out about should I got it, should I not get it? It's done. It's covered. You're good to go with that benefit on your card already. Okay. So just FYI, and Margaret's saying there's a massive car rental shortage right now, and they can't guarantee the car that you booked will be available or that any rental will be available. That's pretty huge. So people who book third-party sites are going to be the first reservations bumped, just like on airlines. Good to know, Margaret. So for anyone that is booking through Priceline or Hotwire, that could be a tricky one for you right now. But it never hurts to try to book directly through them too and see what kind of discounts you can get, like the Marriott loyalty that's running through Hertz. Okay. And Karen's chiming in. I thank you, Karen, for chiming in. Retired public school teacher here. Please ask ahead and give the teacher plenty of notice to assemble any work needed to be done during the absence, and that schools are usually very willing to work with you. So I love that. Thank you, Karen. And schools are. I think any school that told you no, definitely to a big, like we want to go to Washington, D.C. We want to go to the Grand Canyon. These are huge moments that, no school can replicate what you are going to give your kid in that moment of walking through and seeing the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. And if they said no to that, then you should be questioning, like, what's our goal here? Because our goal is to help our kids learn all sorts of things. And honestly, to me, a trip is sometimes the best way to do that. I'm very much a travel mom. and I would haul my kids everywhere. I have one teenager who has already decided that she would much rather hunker down for the rest of life and never travel. But so far, all the other kids are totally with me wherever I drag them to, and whatever museum I drag them into, they're totally willing to go along and learn too. So Justice, I'm sorry, I know you've probably asked your question a couple times and I didn't answer it. Justice is asking, when is a good time to get patio furniture? So you'll find some deals right now. They're not really the lowest prices that we see for the whole year, but if you would like to enjoy your patio furniture during the summer, then the sales that are running over Memorial Day are some of your best options. The lowest prices that we see for the whole year are going to come after July 4th when we start to see clearance on a lot of these items. And that clearance will begin sometime like the second week after July 4th and will usually end after Labor Day. So you've got kind of that whole month of August there that you're going to be able to find some deals. The closer we get to Labor Day, the cheaper that they are getting. But that's when we want to aim for patio furniture deals if we can. The same with grills, the same with lawnmowers, any sort of outside equipment. Best prices are at the end of the summer, not the beginning, but they are on sale. So if you don't like that answer, you could go ahead and grab one now if you really, really wanted to. Okay, so I think we've hit most everything. Oh, I had one more link that I pulled for you guys. I mentioned meal planning. I don't know whether my husband got this link in there or not, but I'll get him to put it back in there for you guys. But we did do a printable post it might have been last year, on how to plan for vacation meals, how to make sure you don't forget anything, how to pre-plan, maybe even pre-cook for some of those things. So I'm going to put in a link to that post and walks through all of those tips, but it's huge because not eating out is huge. So that's what I would encourage you to do. To kind of wrap up here, first off, every vacation does need a budget. You need to have some sort of idea of what is our max that we're willing to spend. And then inside that budget is playing with those numbers. Okay, well, if I can save on lodging here, then that's going to give us more money to do this. And if I could save on food, then that's going to give us more money to maybe go here or maybe to stay an extra night. You get the idea. So part of frugal travel is maybe making some exceptions. Maybe you don't really want to cook every night, but if I'm willing to pre-cook ahead and not eat out any, then that is saving me more money in the long run. It's going to lower the whole budget, or it's going to let us stay a little closer to town. All of these things are moving parts inside your budget. So you start to figure out, what am I willing to give up? What am I willing to do instead of have someone else do for me? And then I get to play inside those numbers and see what else can I get for this budget if I do that. So, just across the board, just things to consider. One other thing, I had someone specifically ask, because I posted a picture with this video that was pictures of past trips for us. And so someone specifically asked, how do you afford, a boat rental or things like that? So I do want you to think outside the box as you look at your attractions and think about what is cheaper. So in one of those pictures, if you saw the picture that I posted of kind of the 3 different trips that we had taken, there is a boat rental there. That was when we were on a cruise ship. And as we started to look around at cruise ship excursions, which are very expensive, versus other things that we could do in the area, for a family of 7, it was actually significantly cheaper for us to do things on our own. Now, the cruise ships never want you to think that. They'll always tell you that you get the lowest rate when you go through them. You don't really need to take anybody's word there. You need to do your own hunting and you need to do your own digging. So one tip on that one, if you're in that boat, because I know that was someone's specific question, is use TripAdvisor. That became my go-to when we were planning that cruise, and I was looking at what could we do in each city. We didn't pay for a single excursion through the cruise. We instead dealt with our own things using TripAdvisor. You can see ratings there. You can actually book straight through TripAdvisor now. But it was really great because we were looking at international cities. You don't think about the Bahamas as being international, but it is. So you're dealing with cities that, I can't just call up on the phone. It's a long distance number. I'm going to deal with them through email. But we were able to get some very, very good rates on basically private tours, since we were a party of 7, that we could never have gotten through the cruise ship. So get creative. Don't be willing to just take that someone tells you this is the lowest price, no matter who you're going through, and be willing to kind of do your own hunting. But TripAdvisor was a great site for that. So I don't remember whose question it was, but that was before we went live, but just so that we've definitely hit on that one. Okay, and I think I've hit everybody else's questions as we go through tonight. So if you have any others, feel free to send me a Facebook message or an email, jenny@southernsavers.com. I'll be glad to help you. I love to plan a vacation. I think my husband learned that. Like, it's just part of the stress. I don't even need to go on the vacation. I just want to plan it. So maybe in my future life, I will be a travel planner. I don't know. But I'll be glad to help you find a deal if that's what you want. So again, Facebook message, email, jenny@southernsavers.com. Ask away, and I will try to do my best to try to find you a deal or help you figure out how to save on it. So thanks for watching tonight. I'll be back on tomorrow at 2 o'clock for our drugstore deals, top drugstore deals. I've got all the new month-long deals at Walgreens, and there's some significant deals to grab. So join me for that, or join after the fact if you can't watch it live at 2. And next week we'll be back on for Q&A, same time, every Monday night at 8:30. So if I don't see you tomorrow, I'll see you next week. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and I'll talk to you again soon.